All right, pen tools. A lot of good things that you can do with the pen tool. That's what we're going to talk about. They're right over here. You have the pen tool, add anchor point tool, delete anchor point tool, and convert anchor point tool. So we'll start out with the basics. The pen tool, hotkey P, creates anchor points and manipulates the paths in between those anchor points. So if you just single click, you'll create an anchor point. You move your mouse and click again. It creates an additional anchor point and puts a path in between those two anchor points. Let's make a triangle here. Clicking again. Then when I come back here, notice that little circle that's next. That means I'm going to complete this shape and close it off. And that is a completed shape with 3 anchor points, 3 paths in between each of those anchor points. Now if I click and drag, then I don't get a corner, I get a curve on that anchor point, and that curve will continue on either side of that anchor point. And then I can come and close that off. Now once you have a shape, and it has anchor points, I'm going to make the stroke bigger so you can see what we're doing here. Okay, so this orange line is the path and anchor points. The blue line is the stroke. You can control that there. Once you have this, you can use your white arrow tool, the direct select tool. You can press A, and you can select one of these. You can move it around, move it down. You can adjust these handlebars. Notice that the handlebars work like a seesaw until they're broken. Let me show you what I mean by broken. If you use your convert anchor point tool, you can break the handlebars, and then that curve works independently of the other side. The convert anchor point tool, Shift C, turns corners to curves and curves to corners. So this corner, by clicking and dragging, turns it into a curve. This curve, by clicking once, turns it into a corner. I can also delete anchor points. Okay, and that hotkey is minus, and that's called delete anchor point tool, aptly named. I can hit the plus symbol and add anchor points. Those anchor points can come in and be manipulated with the white arrow tool or the convert anchor point tool. Another thing that the pen tool can do is if you already have some artwork that you have drawn yourself, you do not trace over other people's artwork. You do not go online and find something and trace it. That is copyright infringement. It's illegal. It's also really lazy. Anyway, if you want to do like a sketchbook, for example, here is a page out of a sketchbook of mine. Let's say that I wanted to focus in on one of these little thumbnail sketches and do it. Let's do this one here. You can use the pen tool for this. You can use a combination of tools, but since we're talking about the pen tool, I'm going to lock that down. You can go Object Lock or Command 2, and I'm just going to zoom in on this. Now it's super pixelated, but that's okay because I just need the shape. So I'm going to start a new layer. I'm going to get out my pen tool, and I'm going to notice that there's some curves. And whenever there's a curve, you want to hit kind of the change in direction of that curve in the middle. So I'm just going to start at this point. This looks like a point. Okay, I'm going to go here. There's a little curve here, so I'm just going to I'm going to curve that there. Okay, this is kind of curved as well. I curve that there as well. You can always come back and make changes later. This looks like it's curved that way. Now I don't want this curve to continue up. I want it to change direction. So when I mouse over, notice that there's a convert anchor point tool symbol. I click once, it gets rid of the other half of that. When I go up here, notice it's going to close that shape off with that little circle. Okay, now I have that shape. Notice what I did not do. I did not put a billion little anchor points in there. You want as few anchor points as possible. Let me show you what to do and what not to do. Okay, so if you're tracing something like this, don't do this. This is a super jagged line. There is no point to that at all. Right? It's just going to be bad. Okay, you can even close it off. If I make that bigger, that's not a smooth line. If I were to do this particular shape, every change of direction that you have, you put an anchor point, but you don't put an anchor point unless you need an anchor point. There, let me get rid of there we go. Okay. Ton fewer anchor points. Then you can come back in, you can make adjustments if you want. You can add and subtract anchor points if you feel like you need to. Now the better way to do that would be to use the shape builder tool, and I'll show you how to do that briefly because I go over it in another video. I'm just going to make these strokes. Okay, so those are the pen tools. Pen tool, add anchor point, subtract anchor point, convert anchor point.